1966. On-call barber Muhammad Ali refused to serve in Vietnam on religious grounds, leading to a 5-year prison sentence and a boxing ban, before he returned as a champion. 1965. Cassius Clay versus the U.S. government. Muhammad Ali refused to fight in Vietnam, citing religious beliefs. He was fined, jailed, and banned from boxing. But his career surged after the war. 1965. Just a little snuggle. The reticulated python, world's longest snake, squeezes life from prey in minutes. Vietnam soldiers often faced such non-venomous but deadly creatures in the jungle. 1967. Raquel Welch supports the soldiers. Raquel Welch, 60s sex symbol, toured Vietnam with Bob Hope, bringing support and joy to soldiers. She starred in her sexiest role just before the war. 1970. Surf's Up soldiers, surf-loving soldiers from the U.S. West Coast ordered surfboards as life-saving devices. Surfing brought a piece of home to cope with Vietnam's fear. 1969. Joey and the Boys in camo. Joey Heatherton, 60s star, toured Vietnam with Bob Hope, entertaining troops. Despite being Anne Margaret's rival, they worked together for years. 1968. Taxi, Take Me Home. In 1973, the Hanoi POW taxi carried over 700 U.S. prisoners of war home after years of captivity, sparking overwhelming disbelief and joy. 1973. The Queen of Comedy has arrived. Phyllis Diller joined Bob Hope's USO tour, performing her unmatched slapstick comedy for troops in Vietnam, leaving soldiers in stitches with her Emmy-winning humor. 1965. Buds up, guns down. During Vietnam War protests, flowers became symbols of peace. The famous Flower Power movement offered a contrast to guns and violence, aiming for change. 1965. These boots were made for the troops. Nancy Sinatra performed for the troops in Vietnam, believing in supporting soldiers. Her generation was deeply connected to Vietnam veterans. 1966. President Lyndon B. Johnson. President Lyndon B. Johnson listened to recordings from Vietnam soldiers, including his son-in-law. The war touched even the most powerful families. 1969. Most Beautiful Woman in Nam. Joey Heatherton, famous 60s bombshell, performed in Vietnam, leaving an indelible mark with her acting, dancing, and unwavering support for the soldiers. 1969. Two-Step Charlie, over the crate snake, nicknamed Two-Step, struck fear in Vietnam soldiers. Its bite could kill within 2 steps, making it one of the war's deadliest creatures. 1967. Bringing a Little Soul to the Jungle, Sammy Davis Jr., opposed to the Vietnam War, still performed for troops at the president's request, showing his deep support for soldiers despite his anti-war stance. 1965. Auditioning for Donut Dollies, highly educated Red Cross volunteers entertained Vietnam troops. To join, they needed letters of recommendation and rigorous exams. 1969. Here Comes the Cavalry. In March 1965, 3,500 Marines landed at Cape Batangan to join 23,000 troops, marking a significant escalation in U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War. 1969. From Sea to Shining Sea. The Miss America show, a patriotic spectacle, brought dancing and performances to Vietnam, offering a brief escape for soldiers who hadn't seen home in years. 1966. The Ultimate Doggy Treat. A soldier in Vietnam finds a puppy in a man-dug hole, a rare moment of joy amidst the war's chaos. Both man and dog found solace in each other. 1965. New meaning to Pop-Tops. Pop-Top soda cans were a favorite among soldiers, but discarded cans became deadly traps when the enemy turned them into makeshift bombs. 1969. When it's too hot for clothes in Nam. In addition to Bob Hope, more adult forms of entertainment, including local performers, were brought in to entertain soldiers during the hot, exhausting days in Vietnam. 1968. Life's Like a Box of Chocolate Forrest Gump, though released decades later, depicted life during and after the Vietnam War with stark accuracy, touching on PTSD, the drug pandemic, and war's impact. 1965. The First Lady of Vietnam, Lola Falana, a major star in her time, performed glamorous shows for Vietnam soldiers, using her talents to bring joy during Bob Hope's final USO tour. 1966. A clever reading nook, Vietnam soldiers often used tanks for defense. But when action slowed, they turned them into makeshift reading nooks to pass the time in the sweltering heat. 1965. Bringing cute and sassy to the jungle. The Debutantes, an all-girl band, toured Vietnam with the USO, bringing musical performances that blended humor and talent to entertain the weary soldiers. 1965. Lady Liberty stands tall. In 1971, anti-war protesters draped banners over the Statue of Liberty, using the symbol of freedom to call for an end to the Vietnam War. 1969. Well, that's a stick in the mud. Vietnam's muddy terrain often trapped vehicles, as seen in this photo where soldiers struggled to free a stuck convoy, a common challenge during monsoon season. 1965. Forecast for the day, sunny. Bobby Keith, an unpaid volunteer, reported entertaining weather segments for soldiers, brightening their days with her humor and military family background. 1969, Suns Out, Guns Out. Tanks in Vietnam weren't just for combat. Some soldiers lived in them for long stretches, decorating them with local designs for comfort and shade. 1969. Here comes the donut wagon. The Donut Dollies' work began in World War II, but they gained fame in Vietnam, boosting troop morale with games, treats, and much-needed cheer. 1965, A Star is Born. Way before Hollywood, Chris Christopherson, future singer and actor, served as a helicopter pilot in the Army before breaking into music, once flying a chopper to Johnny Cash's house. 1965. One Stupid Decision. Jane Fonda's infamous visit to Vietnam led to lasting controversy. Her protest of bombings was overshadowed by her smiling with enemy soldiers, earning her the nickname Hanoi Jane.